Welcome to ILI's History Makers Leadership Podcast. My name is Jerry Anze. I serve as the Associate Director for Global Online Mobilization. Joining me in the studio today is David Jewell. David is a global leader. He's a man of many hats. He's a pastor, he's a professor in a university, and he's so passionate about peace and conflict resolution. David, we're so excited to have you here at the studio today.
Thank you very much, Jerry. So glad to have me with you. Thank you, everyone. As you said, I'm a professor in a university in Nigeria, and I have other interests apart from though I'm an expert in peace and conflict area, particularly conflict analysis and transformation. Thank you, Jerry. So glad to be with you.
We're so excited that you made time to be with us today for this session. Now, we're going to be looking at peace, conflict, resolution, and forgiveness.
Yeah.
This is your field. You've been involved in this for a long time. And coming from Nigeria, Nigeria is an interesting country.
Yes, it
There's
is.
so much diversity in Nigeria, from the population, from the tribes, from the people and the cultures. What are some biblical principles and values that guides a Christian leader in navigating peace and conflict resolution?
Thank you, Jerry. There are many biblical principles to follow in order to cultivate peace in our communities. One of such is love your neighbor as yourself. And we need to treat others with respect, love neighbors. Who is my neighbor? The person closest to you. Who is your neighbor? The people around you. You must reach out to believers, unbelievers, and the like to show them the love of Christ. The Bible also teaches the principle of forgiveness. In fact, it says, if you do not forgive, neither will your sins be forgiven you. So, and if you don't forgive, your prayers too can be hindered. So I've learned to work on the principle of forgiveness as one of the principles that will help promote peace in the nation and all over the world. We need the principle of forgiveness. The Bible also talks about reconciliation. We must make room for reconciliation, reconciling men to God, reconciling man to man, and then reconciling within ourselves. So, this principle of reconciliation also promotes peace. There are many other principles, like principle of justice. Justice, doing wherever there is no justice, conflicts are bound to erupt. Wherever there is injustice, you smell conflict. But when there is justice, people will live in peace.
Now, let me just interject here. You talked about some three important things that I
Yeah.
want to highlight here. You talked about the issue of forgiveness. You
Forgiveness.
talked about the issue of loving your neighbor, and you also talked about reconciliation
And
coming
justice.
and
too.
justice. Coming from the context of Nigeria,
Mm.
I mean, who do we call our neighbor in the reality and context of what's been going on, especially in northern Nigeria when it comes to religious crisis? I mean, we've lived with people that at some point, we consider them our neighbor, but it's gotten to a point where people no longer see them as neighbors because of some conflicts that has happened over time.
Yeah.
So, how do you reconcile that situation?
Well, our neighbors, we have many neighbors, depending on where you are and the angle you look at it. In Nigerian context, we have Muslims as neighbors to Christians. We have different ethnic nationalities or groups that are also neighbors. And then we have political opponents, they are also neighbors to themselves. And so, concerning the religion, over time, there have been conflicts between the Christians and the Muslims. In some situations, Christians being persecuted, Okay, let me give you an example. The time there's this young lady that served when I was serving in the government, in the chaplaincy of the government of Plateau State. Is this young lady that worked with me directly as an assistant
Mm.
in the office. She shared her story with me during one of the conflicts in Jos, particularly 2008. Her father was butchered, massacred to death. And she escaped and was seeing everything that happened. So one day I asked her, "What do you feel about it? How do you, when it comes to your mind, what do you think? Would you be willing to forgive?" She took a deep breath and she sighed and said, "This is a difficult thing to do. I find it difficult to forgive because the picture, the story, whatever happened kept coming to her mind. Now, it's possible to forgive, but it may take some time to heal, take some time to even reach that level of forgiveness. We continue to preach forgiveness until the healing comes and people are ready to move on. So I agree that it's difficult to do, but it's possible to do it.
Now, is it in the context of reconciliation?
Mm.
Are we able to have reconciliation without peacemaking? Because sometimes we see government agencies, we see religious bodies, we see churches
Mm.
involved in some form of
Peace building.
peace building processes.
Yeah.
Does it really work? Have you seen the impact happen? Have you seen the impact of these peace building efforts
Yeah.
in the community or in the state or in the nation?
True. I've been part of it, the peace building process in Jaws and beyond Jaws. So it has worked in some quarters, but it takes time. Actually, peace building, the conflict may happen within like a month, but it takes a longer time for you to achieve the peace building. It's an ongoing process. So for some, it's been achieved, but for some, we're still working on it. Now,
So
the challenge with that is that when you are working on building peace, suddenly some a conflict from somewhere now erupts, and that may also, conflict is dynamic. Yeah, conflicts are dynamic. They change with different factors coming in. And that's one of the most frustrating things about peace building. While building peace, suddenly something erupts and it pulls your attention to that direction, and it might escalate the first conflict
mm,
and frustrate the process of peace building. These are the challenges we face in conflict resolution and peace building. Okay.
like I mentioned earlier, Nigeria is a complicated country in different ways.
Very
Now, when
complicated.
we're talking about reconciliation and peace building,
Mhm.
we have reconciliation and peace building between Christians and Muslims.
Sure.
We have tribes that are also
Mm-hmm.
at war with each other, and
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to reconcile them because
Mm.
of land disputes, because of some misunderstandings or some issues. How do you correlate like both of these different instances?
Right? Like you said, Nigerian conflict is very complex because when a conflict erupts, it's interpreted differently. Some will look at it at a religious angle, some political, some that same conflict can be interpreted differently. So they are so interwoven that it's sometimes difficult to do. So we carry everything together. And some you have to face the primary in your ability to discern which is the primary, the root cause and the remote causes, and then the secondary causes is very key in resolving the conflict. There are no two conflicts that are same. You just have to study and analyze each conflict as it comes, and then know the best way to follow. Maybe let me quickly talk about the stages of conflict.
Okay.
There is a latent stage in conflict when it is not known, is not seen. your approach to that conflict will be different.
Mm.
And your approach to such conflict will be you to nip it in the bud.
Mhm.
And that's early warning signs. You look out for early warning signs, and you come up with early response to be able to nip it in the bud. That's for the first stage,
Mm.
latent.
Mm.
But there is another stage when only one party perceives that conflict exists. The other party doesn't know. And so it's for you to be able to be sensitive to know that something is brewing and that something needs to be done. There are times when the second party now gets to know, then emotions come into it. It begins to escalate, and when it's escalating, your approach will be to de-escalate it, and that's where conflict management comes,
Mm.
because there are three words: conflict management,
Mm.
conflict resolution, and then conflict transformation.
Mm.
But you manage conflict when it is getting out of hand, and you may not have a first or the best solution to the conflict.
Mm.
The best thing to do is to see how you either force it to de-escalate, or to bring the parties together to see how you make peace at the beginning before you now bring the conflict resolution to it. And from conflict resolution, you begin to think of transforming the situation into something positive, so that you remove the root causes of the conflict,
Mhm.
and then so that it doesn't repeat itself. So the conflict transformation seeks to remove the root causes of the thing.
Wow.
But to manage it
Mm.
is to find the best way to force the conflict, to bring it to a stop. But that does not, it's not, it has not ended,
Mm.
because the conflict can be forced to end,
Mm.
and it will bring what we call negative peace. And then what you seek through conflict transformation and resolution is to attain the positive peace. So the negative peace is when war ceases. But you
But
can
still,
force.
there's no peace.
There's tension,
There's
hearts in the hearts of people.
Mm.
There is hatred, prejudice. There is that if you just remove soldiers from it, policemen from it, they will fight.
Mm.
But that's not the lasting solution to it. You
Mm.
go for the positive peace when the root causes will be taken out of the way, and people will, you restore it to the original state when people are willing to live in peace again.
This is interesting and very enlightening.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to look at the different stages of how conflict begins, how it is managed, and the transformation that comes from it. And as believers, that
Mm.
is what we're aiming at. We want to see conflict result in transformation, in lives being changed, in reconciliation, and
Mm.
at the end of it, to see Christ glorified. So, in your own perspective, what
Yeah.
role does forgiveness play, in Christian approaches to conflict resolution?
Well, it plays a very important role. It helps to bring the healing that is needed. I talked about negative peace, and I also mentioned the positive peace. So the forgiveness moves you from the negative peace towards the positive peace. When there is healing
Mm.
within, and you no more have ill feelings towards your neighbor, or your opponent, or whoever, the ill feeling is gone. Then what originally caused the problem is removed out of it.
Mm.
Permit me to talk about Rwanda. Rwanda is after the genocide.
Mm.
The government worked tirelessly towards peace building and transformation, conflict transformation. And that's a very good model to follow. At the end of it, the original things, the root causes, like the ethnic differences, difference between Houthis
And the
uh,
Tutsis.
and Tutsis, the government came up with a policy which is leading to the transformation.
Mm.
If you are from Rwanda, you are Rwandan. And it's working in my assessment.
Mm.
It is working now. All Rwandans now begin to see that they are Rwandan, whether you are Hutu or you are Tutsi, and you see that finally brought development because you just become nationalistic and you focus on development instead of the root causes. So this is an example of how we can move from conflict management ultimately to transformation.
And now, when we talk about the ultimate leader, the one who has lived the life, the one who has confronted situations, we're
Mm,
talking about Jesus. What
Jesus. Okay.
lessons can we learn from the life of Jesus on how he handled conflicts, on how he managed conflict, and the lessons he left for us, to learn from?
If you were in Jesus's shoes, what would you have said? Would you say like him, Father, forgive them for they do not know what they do?
I don't think I would.
Okay, so that's a very good lesson to learn from the Lord
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, even after being um, crucified, all the things he went through, he still had room for forgiveness. He said, "Forgive them, for they do not know what they do."
Mm.
Just remember Stephen also.
Mm.
Stephen was being stoned, and he had every reason not to forgive those who did that.
Mm.
But even while dying, he had room to forgive them. And he saw in them the ignorance because they didn't know what they were doing. So in conflict managing, you need to come to a point when you give room for people's um,
Sin.
wrongs
Mm.
and provide room. Find reason why you should forgive.
Mm.
Yes. If not, if you keep justifying your position, you will have problem forgiving people.
And I think it goes a little further for us as believers.
Mm.
I mean, we forgive not really because we want to forgive. We know we're
Mhm.
hurt. We
Mm.
know we've been shown injustice, and we
Mhm.
have every reason not to forgive.
That's
But
right.
we forgive because Jesus forgave. He modeled forgiveness. He taught us to forgive. And
Mm.
that's the only thing that distinguishes we as believers from the world.
Let me tell you something that may help. The Bible says, "Let no root of bitterness take root in our hearts." And someone calls bitterness. He says bitterness is giving or taking the poison that you meant for someone. So when you become bitter, unforgiving, you suffer more.
Hmm.
You suffer more. You get angry at someone, you suffer more. You get bitter at someone, you suffer more. And so you must learn to, the Bible says there in that bitterness, it will bring all manner of confusion and it defiles many. So if you realize that unforgiveness, bitterness, envy hurts you more than the one who causes it,
Hmm.
you will know you are doing yourself good if you forgive.
Wow, this is amazing.
It will help you deal with it.
The ways of the Lord is just amazing.
Amazing.
Now, I know that you have been involved at various levels in all kinds of peace building
Yeah.
and reconciliation efforts between communities that have been hurting, between tribes that are at war
At
with
war
each
with each
other.
other.
And then when we come to Christians and Muslims, you are making efforts also
Yeah.
in that capacity. What are some practical steps or strategies that
Mm.
you would advise the Christian leaders or the believers, to use in terms of building peace and resolving conflicts in their communities?
Yeah. One of the things that deteriorates when there is conflict is communication.
Mm.
So you have to work on restoring communication. When it happened in Jos, Nigeria, the natural thing to do is, I will never talk to Muslims. I will never come close to a Muslim. I will never do this. When there is conflict, people confront you with there are three things that are involved. One, the needs that have not been met.
Mm.
Number two, the interest that every party has. The third one is the position they are they confront you with.
Mm.
And you will likely get confused when people approach you with the position because the positions are like all Muslims are bad. I will never relate to any Muslim again. This ethnic group is like this, prejudice.
Mm.
They confront you with that. But deep within, the reason why they come up with this position is because either their interest is that they feel their interest is under threat, or their needs are not met. So what to do is to dig deep and discover what the needs are. For example, the need for security,
Mm.
the need for poverty to be taken away, the need for justice, the need for this. So these are the underlying issues. You look down deep within and look at the needs beyond the interests and the positions they show. And once you are able to deal with you provide the needs and you solve the problem, you'll be able to have peace, a lasting one.
Now, in your experiences with all of these different groups of people and in all of these efforts that you've put in,
Yeah.
um, how has it been in terms of rebuilding trust? The trust used to be there, and when conflicts happen, especially the religious side of it, it's trust is broken and it's difficult to restore. How have you seen this restored, and how do you think that both sides of the religion, both Christians and Muslims, begin to regain trust in each other again?
Well, from experience, that has come through interfaith dialogue, where you have a parley, you bring the leaders together to talk about the things that unite them, and they emphasize the things that disunite them. So, in the discussion like this, for the first time, somebody will get to know why a Muslim doesn't believe in the Son of God. Then you know that this is a bone of contention. That when you approach a Muslim and you talk about the sonship of Jesus, it's an offense to him, and so he's willing to even call out for war against you. That is a blasphemy. You're against their religion. So when you talk together, you get to know the bottlenecks, to know where um, you, any discussion, things that will trigger conflicts between the religions. So dialogue plays a great role. I talked about communication earlier on, and then you give room to each party or any party from both sides to express their concern. Now, let me quickly now say something which is a challenge to Christians in dialogue. There is a principle that is known in Islam, uh, that when you meet, you remember is it the Gibeonites when they come and say, let's make peace between, and they are allowed by that principle to do whatever it means, even if it means to deceive you to think there is peace. So that's in such a dialogue, we do have problem with that sincerity, whether the reconciliation is coming from a sincere heart or not. Um, they call it, is it Taikia? And by that principle of Taikia, when we come to dialogue, um, you may settle, you assume peacefully, but afterwards, conflict will still. But or you may be deceived to think that there is no more conflict.
So it's kind of false
That
peace.
is false peace, and that is caused because it's so. When you are dealing with that, you have to think beyond Takia. You have to think beyond and trust God for discernment, because you wouldn't know whether you are being deceived or is a genuine reconciliation.
So, having highlighted all of these very important points in terms of peace and building trust, and working on reconciliation, what are some practical ways that you think leaders, Christian leaders, needs to begin to advocate do be engaged in some kind of advocacy and come up with some policies that will help in peace and address this kind of issues?
I am interested in this so much because one of the things I love doing now
Mm.
is public policy formulation and analysis. So, uh, as Christian leaders, what I think we should be doing now is to look at areas of need in terms of peace and conflict,
Mhm.
uh, draw up or formulate policies because government may not see it the way you are seeing.
Mhm.
So you now come up with policies and sell the idea to government. Things like football matches, soccer matches between Christians and Muslims will foster development. And over time, you see the wall that was created through conflicts will now be
Broken
broken
down through
gradually.
soccer.
You set up a market, for example, that's a public policy.
Mm.
Set up a market somewhere between at the boundary.
Mm.
Mm? Set up a hospital at the boundaries between the Muslim dominated and Christian dominated areas. And these are things that we'll have to do together. You go to market, you meet unbelievers, you meet
Mm.
Muslim meet Christians, and you end up buying. And through this thread, through coming together to facilitate that both parties need, you will discover that the wall of division
Mm.
gets broken gradually. And then this is, it may take time, but sometimes over 25 years, but ultimately it will restore peace. And sometimes people will discover they are on the side of peace unawares
Mm.
over time. Gradually, you still come. I remember when the conflicts, some certain conflicts in Jos erupted, um, we splitted markets.
Oh,
Muslims had their markets and Christians had their markets. You will never buy from the Muslims, and Christians will not buy from
yeah. And
Muslims will not buy from Christians.
and this, would you say, is a result of the lack of trust? Because
Yes, when
each
trust is
each side
broken,
of the religion, Christians are afraid to buy from the Muslims because they think that they will be poisoned, and
yeah,
the Muslims are afraid from buying the Christians because they think the same.
the same
So
thing.
once there is no trust, it
Mm,
breaks down relationships,
yeah.
and it also affects
It affects the
the,
peace process
the peace process.
completely.
Mm.
And so there is a Hausa saying, permit me to say, that when the milk is spilled on the ground,
Mm.
it's difficult to gather it again. So that's how trust is.
Mm.
That when you spill it on the ground, it's difficult to get it back. So trust is a key element in peace building and key element in restoring peace. Don't even allow it to spill. And if it does, just find a substitute to make sure that the trust is rebuilt and people will get to do things together. Uh, you trust is one sign that peace has been restored.
Mm.
But as long as there is no trust, it's just a negative peace.
Mm.
It's not yet a positive peace.
Wow, that's interesting. Thank you for enlightening us with all of this details about peace and conflict resolution and how you have been involved
Mm.
in this. We're so grateful for you. We're grateful for your leadership. We're grateful for how you also lead the international. You're part of the leadership of the International Leadership Institute in Nigeria, and one of the sessions that we love to teach is overcoming
Overcoming
obstacles.
obstacles.
As you were speaking, I was just looking at all of those sessions, and I remember you teaching this session very well. And sometimes you talk about how we can overcome some of these obstacles
Mm.
if we can go through them.
Hmm.
How do you put it
If you
again?
cannot go
Around them.
around them, you can go through them, or you use them as
Stepping
stepping
stones.
stones.
So, in other words, obstacles sometimes, or in most cases, can be a blessing in disguise.
That's right.
Mm.
When I started out in this field, and anybody can be like that,
Mm.
we will see conflict as negative
Mm.
when you are starting out in this field. And everybody out there also sees uh, conflict as negative, but we are taught to see it as something positive. It will help you because out of the conflict you get to know more about people, more about what their values, and what not to touch and what to touch. And so conflicts give you opportunity to even get to know people and situations better. And so you will know, you now turn it into a stepping stone, transform it into something good. So please don't see conflicts as negative. They are just helping to reveal what has been hidden for some time. So so that you'll be able to work on it. Right.
Thank you very much. Now, in conclusion, would you just wrap this up by telling giving us ways that Christian leaders can play their role in promoting peace, not just in Nigeria where you come from, but globally, because I believe there are principles that can work,
Yeah.
globally. So, what are some of the ways that you would suggest that Christian leaders can use in terms of promoting peace?
One, prayer plays a great role
Mm,
in peace building. For
mm,
me as a Christian, looking at it in Christian perspective,
mm,
we first settle it on our knees,
mm,
and then we take the right steps towards resolving or managing, resolving, or transforming conflict, or
mm,
sometimes doing the peace building process. So prayer comes first from your closet, then you take the right steps towards the right direction. The next thing to do is one other thing is to build relationships.
mm,
Let's be deliberate and determined to develop relationships and to reconcile people
mm,
where need be. And day by day, mm, my culture will say that the tongue and the teeth live together, but once in a while there is a bite. So
yeah.
we know that these things are bound to happen, but we must be deliberate about building relationship. Um, Raise awareness in our congregations as Christians, and wherever you can bring Muslims and Christians together, make sure you bring them on the same platform too. I noticed that religious leaders play a great role,
Mm,
um, to the positive or negative. Sometimes they fuel the conflicts
mm,
for their own gains. Politicians too fuel the conflict for their interests, and we must come to a point when we create awareness in our people to get to know and discern when these people are doing this to their own advantages.
mm,
And so that's very key. We must open the eyes of people. Education,
mm,
peace, education, and uh, conflict education. We need to let them know
mm,
why some conflicts happen.
mm,
And let me quickly say, most of the conflicts happen, and people focus on the effects. They focus on the secondary causes, but if you just focus on that, you may lose out on the root causes, and usually they are hidden.
mm,
They are just like the iceberg. When you see it from afar, it's like a mountain. You can only see the um, the part that is revealed.
mm,
It's outside. You will now forget that deep within that water or below the water level,
mm,
deep, there is a larger mass of the
mm,
iceberg. So most people view conflicts from the outside. They see the surface, they forget there is the root down there. And so ability to discern, to diagnose any conflict is very key. If not, you'll be treating malaria instead of dealing with maybe typhoid,
wow,
because
that's
the
amazing. Mm,
the the signs
mm,
and symptoms look alike, and you'll be deceived to think.
mm,
Yeah. Remember when Jesus was came down from the Mount of Transfiguration, he met his disciples trying to to cast out the demon, and they couldn't.
Mm.
And later on, when they asked him, why is it that we couldn't? He told them, part of what he told them, apart from the issue of faith, he told them uh, about their discernment. They need to know
Mm.
and they need to fast to do so. But there is one key thing I want to use to say something.
Mm.
He's when in casting the demon, he said, "You deaf and dumb spirit." He cast out that deaf and dumb spirit.
Mm.
But the signs were like epilepsy.
Mm.
You can see. So your ability to discern,
Oh,
you either give a solution or it keeps you in circle. You think you are solving the problem, but you're just no solution to it.
wow. I like the fact that you emphasized a lot about promoting interfaith dialogue.
That's
It
important.
means that you have seen the impact of this in terms of peace building,
Mm,
and you see how this is a place to begin to
mm,
talk and to begin to find ways of rebuilding trust. You've
trust.
also talked about you emphasized, I would say, about shared values. I think it's important for us to come to the table based on some of the things we agree and
Mm,
then share those difficult, tough questions and
mm,
issues that we disagree on
mm,
and find amicable ways that we can resolve this
mm,
without having to hurt each other, but
mm.
in finding ways that we can both live in peace. And earlier you mentioned the issue of justice. I
That's
mean,
right.
when there is forgiveness and reconciliation, there should be justice as
There should
well.
be justice.
If there is
If
no
not, it will not
justice, it
last.
will not last.
It
It
will not
will go back
last.
to what you
Yeah.
call the false peace.
Peace.
And that's not what we want to see as Christian leaders.
Mm,
We believe that as Christian leaders, we have the key that will help us in teaching forgiveness
mm,
to our congregations, living out forgiveness for our communities to see,
mm,
and also be advocates for
mm.
forgiveness, for peace, and reconciliation.
May I say one thing?
Yeah.
Do everything to stay away from prejudice, and that's specifically speaking to everyone, to especially to Nigerians and Africans.
Mm.
Oh, prejudice makes you to make some generalizations and say
Which will hurt the process.
yes,
Yeah.
and you think you conclude these people are bad.
Mm.
Everyone from here is bad. Maybe because of one bad person you have met, you
Mm.
make conclusions that every other person from this ethnic group or from this religion is bad. So that such conclusions can frustrate the process of peace building and conflict resolution.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure having you here.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you.